Hello, I'm Philip Duncan. Thank you very much for joining us for our special update on the severe gale potential around northern New Zealand today. So let's get into it with the animated wind map for this afternoon. Now, yes, it's a windy day across many parts of the country. We've got this cold southerly coming in around the lower North Island, but it's this main southerly change which is sort of west to northwest at the moment in the North Island. Then it goes more sort of southwest for these upper regions. Now, the main area of concern is basically from Auckland and Coromandel northwards. It's those areas that are most exposed. Further down, yes, there's a strong wind, but it's not quite as bad as these winds we're expecting around northern areas. So let me try and explain it all in more detail. This is the latest map from IBM. So the areas that are in shaded colours, sort of this big dark colour and these purple colourings, around 90 to 100k gusts. That's just out at sea. So when that moves into land and it goes over the hills and the ranges and the wind tunnels through the Auckland Central Business District, the winds can go faster by maybe 20 or 30 k's an hour. So that gets you up into the sort of hurricane force level. So that's the reason why we're concerned. It's these areas here in that purple shading. Those are the gusts 90 to 100 at sea. That does not include the gust that you get once it gets into land. So pretty blustery conditions. Now the wind barbs, the sort of arrows that point, that is the mean wind speed. So around Auckland, it's in that yellow zone, sort of 30 to 50 k's an hour. That's just shy of gale force. So it's not a gale all day long, but it will be gusting, as you can see in these shaded areas, well into the 100 kilometre an hour range. Now, this is the breakdown of these winds as we go through today. This is 3 p.m. this afternoon, Wednesday. The main area of concern out here. So it's still sort of building as we go on towards the afternoon. By 6 p.m, it's now crossing over. Now you can see sort of calm areas in the middle. That's because the land breaks up the flow. This is just the average wind speed. And these areas you see here are the gale force damaging winds. So by 6 p.m, it's really crossing over these northern areas, maybe sort of the rural north of Auckland and up around Northland, Western Bay of Plenty, Coromandel Peninsula, they're all getting pretty strong winds. By 9 p.m, it's starting to move further out this way, out to the northeast. So places it's a little hard to see, but Great Barrier Island, probably the most exposed as we go into this evening. And once we get to midnight tonight, look at that, it's already moving out to sea. So it's really for sort of about 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. That's sort of the timing at this stage. It might move around a few hours, but that's the main thinking at this stage with these windy conditions coming through. And our thanks to MetOcean for those maps. So the current setup right now, there's the low, there's the high, and that's the squash zone going across the country. But you can see this secondary area of low pressure. That's what's putting the squeeze on to those northern areas. If this wasn't here, it'd just be a normal windy day around New Zealand, but this is adding extra pressure. And this is not the first time we've seen this, by the way. We'll talk about that in a split second. But look what happens as we go through into Thursday. That high gets closer, the low moves away, and that secondary area just vanishes. So we're sort of back to normal quite quickly. Now, I'd said that we've seen this setup before. This is it. This over here on this side is the 2018 windstorm that really slammed Auckland. That was in April 2018. This is the current one today. Very similar. Both of them have got a big strong southerly that turns around as a westerly, just like this one here, southerly coming up, turning around. But the key difference is this shading here, where that was really going up into the nearly 200k an hour mark as it moved in. And there was this little area of low pressure, which really put the pressure on for the Auckland region. Now, when you compare that with this setup, yes, there's low pressure in here, but it's much larger. And so what it's doing is it's allowing these winds to fan out further. So more people will get windy weather. I don't know if you remember, but in this April storm, Waikato got almost nothing and Auckland had its worst power cut in history. So this system, more spread out, more people get wind, but it reduces the peaks. That's our hope anyway. So it's an interesting thing to see. These two systems quite similar, but like, you know, pretty much like every weather event, you can't really compare one to the other. We can get one cyclone that comes down followed by another one, a tropical storm, and they both do two different things, but they look the same. So no weather setup is ever really exactly the same, but we are learning more and more from this event as it goes through. Before I leave, don't forget, you can go to ruralweather.co.nz. Yes, even in Auckland. Auckland's a hugely rural area, actually. It's our biggest city. It's also a very large rural zone. So this is for Great Barrier Island, showing wind gusts of up around 80, 90 k's an hour later today. You can check out your suburb or whichever part of New Zealand or Kiwi community you live in. That is all from us. Thanks for your support. We'll see you again tomorrow. Take care.